Hello friends, welcome back to the Jazz Ranch, hip cats and groovy chicks. I have a special video for you tonight on riffs, which are repeating rhythmic patterns. Now, I've got on my James Joyce glasses, and he said this: mistakes are the portals of discovery. Now, I think he means that when you make a mistake, a door is going to open to discover something. In other words, you're going to learn something from your mistakes, so it's okay to make mistakes. Now, you can't learn to swing by playing riffs or reading a book or watching this video. You have to go out and hear live musicians or listen to recordings of great musicians who really swing. Musicians like, I'm going to talk about pianists now, Oscar Peterson, Ahmed Jamal, Bud Powell, Hank Jones, Wynton Kelly, Bill Evans, Dave Brubeck, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea. They all were great swingers. The list goes on, and you want to listen to their recordings and learn their time feel and the feeling of their music and the way they play, the way they phrase, you know, to learn how to swing. But I'm hoping that this video will give you some insight into swinging by learning to play riffs with a backing track and learning how to read rhythms. So that's what I want to help you with here in this video. So here we go with now learning riffs. Okay, welcome to the Jazz Ranch Studio, and I'm going to be talking about riffs and rhythm, and everyone wants to get better rhythm, including myself, and it's something we can talk about intellectually, but we really can't get you to understand it without going out and hearing great players or listening to recordings of great players and learning that way. You know, playing with other musicians who really know how to play rhythmically or can really swing hard will be the best help for you, more so than this video or any book. However, beside that point, I'm going to be talking about rhythm, and I'm going to give you a drill of riffs. Now, riffs are just repeating rhythmic figures. It's sort of like what we call comping. And, you know, riffs create a groove. And that's what we want to do. We want to swing, we want to create a groove. And so I'm going to be breaking it down for you now. I've got a few exercises on riffs here, which is a good way to start to learn to play rhythmically and to learn to read rhythms. That's the thing, is you want to be able to read them and be able to play them and know what they sound like by looking at them on the page. You know, a lot of times you're going to be involved in reading music. If you want to be a professional musician, you're going to be in a band, or you're going to be in a big band or an orchestra or some kind of ensemble in which you're going to be given music or a chart, then you want to know how to interpret it and how to read it rhythmically, as well as the notes, you know, play the correct notes and play the correct rhythm. So I'm just going to start out with some basics for beginners now. You can skip over this if you're intermediate or beyond that and go to the next section. But anyway, I just want to start out for the beginners with the basic thing. And I'm going to just say that this video and backing track, which is a bass and drummer in a swing tempo, this is the tempo, which is 120. It's a good medium. It's, you know, that tempo will take you on a blues. About there, okay? Upbeat. So there's going to be a downbeat and an upbeat. Now that's all you have, and everything that has to do with syncopation is going to involve either a downbeat or an upbeat or some combination of the two. So syncopation is just rhythm. It's the rhythm that is created by how the notes are notated, having to do with upbeats, downbeats, and so on. So Usually we think of syncopation as being accenting the off beat. In other words, it's not rigid metric thing. It's 1, 2, 3, and, or 1, 2, and, or 1, and, one, and, or and. So it's understanding the and, or feeling the and. It's a feeling. You have to get down to the feeling level of this. It's not, I'm talking about how you think about it, but if you have to get to the feeling point of it. That's the key to this, is getting to the feeling point of it. So, like 1, 2, 3, 4, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and. So I'm going to give you riffs in this video to play and to learn, and this hopefully will help you not only to read and understand what they look like written on the page, but also how to play them, and to play them with a backing track. You want to be able to play them with a metronome, but also with the backing track. So I want to show you something in my book now that it's going to talk about swing eighths, important lesson, and also syncopation. So here we go with the book now. Now also in chapter 12, Jazz Rhythm and Phrasing, I talk about swing eighths. Now this is an important aspect of jazz phrasing, and here are examples of eighth notes that are written a certain way and how you play them in different styles. In other words, this is written as straight eighths. Now you're going to play them in classical music or rock just the way they're written, or even pop music or Latin music is going to play them. Okay, now ragtime, this second example is ragtime. It's going to be more like a dotted eighth and a 16th. So it's going to be like that. So now the third example is the jazz swing, which is a legato sound in which the first note is going to have twice the value of the second note. In other words, on the ragtime it's 3 times the value. So this is a little bit longer. It's like closer to the straight eighths. So it's more like, and it's more legato. But the examples here now are 4 types of hits or comps, chords. You can have a long beat, long note on the beat. You can have a long note off the beat or on the upbeat. You can have a short hit on the beat, or you can have a short chord on the upbeat or on the offbeat. So those are 4 possibilities. And now there's actually 8 possibilities because you have 8 eighth notes in a measure. So it can hit on any of those beats, upbeat or downbeat, either long or short. And usually it will contrast with the melody. It'll be off the melody rhythm, or it'll be supporting the melody rhythm. Okay, so the first riff I'm going to give you now to play is a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth. Now, the quarter note gets 1 beat. So if you say 1 beat, you're saying 2 half beats or 2 eighth notes. So there's 2 eighth notes in the quarter note. So if it's a dotted quarter, the dot means it gets another half of its equal. So if it's equal to 2 eighths, then another half of that would be another eighth. So we're going to get 3 eighths, and then the next thing that happens is going to be another eighth. So let's look at that on the page, and you see that the dotted quarter gets the count of 1, 2. In other words, we're counting 1 quarter, and then the first half of 2. And then the and comes in on the second half of 2. Now that's tricky, and that's important to understand. So you've got, on the dotted quarter you have 3 eighths. So if you counted it 1 and 2, it would be 1 and 2, and would be hitting the eighth note. Okay, now that may be confusing, but look at it. So you're going to count 1 and 2 and, right? So 1 and 2 and. But we don't count the ands when they're not notated. So you don't need to. You can count 1 and 2 and if it helps you as a starter. But basically you want to count 1, 2, and. In other words, 1, 2, and. So if you're using the metronome, let's get that. That's fast, a little fast. I'll slow it down so make it easy. 1, 2, and. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. You see, so as I talked about in the book, everything is downbeats or upbeats. One or the other, and it's either long or short. So this is going to start with a long and then a short. 1, 2, 1, 2, and. Or 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. So that's the groove right there. That's the riff. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2. Then it changes to F and 2 and. So now we'll listen to how that sounds with the backing track and count along to it and try to play with it. Okay, so that's the first riff, and notice that it's long and short. So now we can do the opposite of that, which is the same riff, but we're just going to do short and long. So short and long is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, short, long, short, long. In other words, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3. Now we'll listen to that one. Okay, same riff, but now both short. Okay, that's 3 variations of the first riff. Here comes the second riff. Now this one is going to be 1 and, then 2 rests, and then 4 and. Now these are common riffs that you hear a lot. So I try to pick out the most common ones. So this one goes like this. 1 and 2, 3, 4 and. So it's like this. Da, da. Now, important thing to understand is that in swing, the first chord or the first hit, first beat, is longer than the second. So the first 8th note is longer, like ba-da. It's not da-da, which is the opposite, or equal ba-da. It's da-da. That's swing. Da-da, 2, 3, 4 and. It's 1 and 2, 3, 4 and. Da-da, da-da. Okay, let's listen to that one. Okay, now the next one is I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to give you an offbeat short, a downbeat long, and another offbeat in the measure. So it's going to, and it's not going to be on one. It's going to be on the and. So it's going to be 1 and 2, 3, 4, and. So let's listen to that one. Okay, so I gave you 3 riffs to start with. You want to master these 3, and then we'll go on to the next 3 in step 2. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for joining me this evening on this topic, riffs. I hope you learned something. I hope you will comment. Leave me a comment. I always react to comments or leave a response if you give me enough time. And until next time, I'll say, in the words of my great friend upstairs, Hermie Dressel, always said when I left his office, swing loose. And we'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.